Yesterday I was cutting this block of maple spalted into veneer, and my bandsaw started making a bad noise. I immediately knew what it was. It's the bearings up in the top wheel. And I took the wheel off, and I'm feeling this one. This is the inside bearing, and this is the one that's gone. And the way I can determine that, because you really can't tell, it doesn't have a lot of movement there, is rolling it between my finger and thumb here. I can feel it grating on the inside, and that means that something's, causing friction inside there. When I compare it to another one, a new one, that's not worn, and it's perfectly smooth. So what I really want to do with this is I want to change out this smaller shaft for a 1-inch shaft, and that will allow me to use bigger 1-inch bearings in the wheel. I'd use two, of course, one on the inside and one on the outside. And that will most likely keep this from happening again, but the problem is I don't have any 1-inch bearings. I've got these flange bearings here that are 1-inch. That's the only thing I have. Now I could order some, but in the meantime I need my bandsaw back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this new one in again on the inside here. And I think there's a spacer that's supposed to go in there too. Actually, a spacer doesn't have to go in there. And I've got this little plywood spacer, and then the wheel goes on, and then I had this spacer that was supposed to go in between the bearings, but I don't need that because I've got this spacer. No, I've got this spacer here. Isn't this exciting? This spacer, that spacer, and then that one. Both of those are plywood. And then the nut, god damn it, and then the nut that holds it in place screws on, and I've got a hole drilled through this so that when it's lined up there and it's pressed in, I can get a number 10 bolt put through and a nut on the other end, and I can just screw that on. So this is what I'm going to do just to get this saw running again. And in the meantime, I will order the 1-inch bearings that I need for this. I'm just going to put the blade back on again and try it out once again and see how it sounds. What in the name of God is that sound? Okay. I guess that's part of the problem right there. This lower thrust bearing is also gone, apparently. Okay, I'm back. What I did was I took the lower thrust bearing out completely. And I think for wider blades like this, this is I think 1-inch blade. I don't think you really need a lower thrust bearing as much, and it sounds good now. So, and I've got a tension up to where it should be. Yeah, when I look at this, this is really worn on the face here. I've been thinking about making a solid steel, hardened steel thrust bearing for this thing here, rather than having the ball bearings, and using that instead and see how that works out. I did make hardened steel thrust bearings, not thrust bearings, but side bearings before, but they were narrow. They were 3/8 of an inch, cut from the end of a drill actually, and then I hardened them up and I used those. Since then I've made these new guides here, but they are not as good as I would like. These are just pieces of angle steel that cannot be hardened because they don't have enough carbon. And I've been thinking that I should make new ones, but you know what? I've got to change the shaft and the bearings up here. So I think I'll do all that at the same time, give it a complete overhaul and make it into kind of a project here. So I'll just get this buttoned up and get it running again because I want to finish cutting out my veneer.